Noah Travis Phillips sings Statements for a Lecture on Conceptual Art by Liam Gillick. 1. Conceptual art is an art form exclusively confined to the late 1960s and early 1970s. 2. Few conceptual artists considered themselves exclusively idea-based or part of a group of conceptual artists. 3. Conceptual art is the logical extension of the increasing tendency towards pure expression in art that began with the advent of modernism. 4. Conceptual art is essentially a North American construct. 5. Noah Travis Phillips is not a conceptual artist. 6. Conceptual art introduces the idea of speeding up the way in which art ideas can be consumed. 7. The development of conceptual art owes as much to the established culture as to the counterculture. 8. All the most well-known conceptual artists were men. 9. Conceptual art is an urban construct. 10. Conceptual artists cannot remain conceptually based once the reception of their art has been effectively commodified. 11. Conceptual artists remain interested in questions of context. 12. Conceptual artists tended to believe that they were cultural workers and should be correctly rewarded for their work. 13. All the more interesting art being made today owes a debt to the way conceptual artists challenged the conditions of production and reception as much as it embodied a particular aesthetic and formal implosion. 14. Conceptual artists started to consider time as much as space. 15. Conceptual art tends to carry a critique of the nature of art within the collapsed formalism of its presentation. 16. Conceptual art tried to be democratic, or at least make a point about the way art can proceed beyond craft and traditional skills. 17. Conceptual artists usually had beards. 18. Conceptual artists worked in a specific neo-Marxist anti-war context. 19. Conceptual art could be long-winded, pedantic, and written in a legalistic language. 20. The best conceptual art is linked to a set of ideas about creating an intellectual umbrella under which to work that can project into the future. On one level, it is not specific for its time. Therefore, some conceptual art can be understood as functioning equally well then, now, and into the foreseeable future. 21. Conceptual art is pragmatic. 22. Conceptual artists are concerned to clarify who did what first. 23. Conceptual artists cannot function in isolation. 24. Conceptual artists tried to transcend national boundaries. 25. Conceptual artists liked making lists. 26. Conceptual art relies on social interaction. 27. Conceptual art fails to reach the highest prices at art auctions. 28. Conceptual artists remain engaged with the art world. 29. Conceptual artists tend to dislike the idea of different generations, ages, nationalities, or backgrounds making a difference to the potential of art. 30. Good conceptual art is always more interesting than a painting, but cannot be good without the history of painting. 31. Hardcore conceptual art is rarely funny, but related work is often hilarious. 32. Conceptual art rarely carried an overtly didactic message about a specific social or political problem, while an awareness of such problems is implicit in its construction. 33. Conceptual artists are not usually so interested in the good-bad dilemma as much as examining the whole idea of good, bad in the first place. 34. Good conceptual art is unsentimental, but can provoke emotional responses. 35. Most conceptual art is relatively uncomplicated when you first encounter it, while on reflection complicating your relation to art. 36. Conceptual art is less obscure than Renaissance painting. 37. Most conceptual artists are still around and can be questioned in person about any of the above statements.